Sweet.
Hello everyone and welcome to FACEHAMMER. I will sort this out in a sec because I realised it's frozen. There you go. I was like a little bit ropey getting ready for the stream tonight, but we're here.
Oh, we're grand. I mean, you haven't put yourself at medical risk like I have, so we're all good.
No, we won't talk about that.
No, not there.
Yeah, so I hope everyone's doing well. Had a good Christmas and getting ready for new year, new things. Hence the show, which is new year, new army. What are we doing? Are we planning out new forces? And thought we'd have a bit of a chat and talk about it and talk about what other people might be doing and answer some questions and talk about the winter update a little bit more. Now people have a time to digest it if they want to. But we're
absorb
just
all that good news.
Except if you're in the Gash player.
With one hand we give it, and with one hand.
With one hand you're dust, which is both hands. It's like I found a handed dust pick. And all that happened was that my model got put in the bin. If you see this door rattling, by the way, that's the wind. It's really windy. It's not Nagash trying to get out. So, although that is the cupboard. It is a cupboard. It is. There's not a bin in there, but it's close enough. So if you see it rattling, it's not Nagash trying to get out to find the game's developers or anything. It's just the wind. Honest. I do think he's maybe still got play in Soulblight. There might be. I won't talk about Nagash too much. I haven't spent time looking at it. I know the chat's talking about it. I think that he might be okay in Soulblight, but then there's better options, I think. And
for 800 points, there's better options. I think
900.
He's not going
to. Don't discount him to what he should be costed. I won't go down.
Hey, look, we've gone to that thing where I accidentally remind you how bad your thing is. It feels
like
down.
It's a Slaanesh heel turn on me or something. It's like we're gonna get you because this is a taste of your medicine. Even though I don't know what I've done to deserve it. I don't think it's my fault. Don't blame me. Please don't blame me. It's not my fault.
No, it's all right. I was just saying that before on air, it feels like Slaanesh has been all masochism, no sadism. I might have got that the right way around. But basically, it's been right.
I don't know if that's both. Are they both bad?
No, well, no. One is inflicting pain, and one is receiving pain, and there has not been much inflicting.
I think sadism is inflicting, and
so no sadism for Slaanesh. It's been all M, no S. And it's continued.
Marks and Spencer, it's all Marks, no Spencer.
No bloody fancy hummus for them.
It's not just they're not just shit war scores, they're M&S war scores.
You made me terrible laughing at my own plot and my love for M&S.
You've got to laugh, otherwise you can't take this game too seriously. Come on, I know we do, but we can't get too upset.
You got to laugh or pick up.
There we go. He's done it. He's flipped everyone. So that probably is a nice segue. So, by Grace here, the expert, is like, yeah, you're dead. That's the right way around. It's like, yeah, how do you know? Not implying anything. So
each man to decide for himself.
Yeah, exactly. Don't knock it till you tried it. Well, then, so you're changing armies, aren't you? Which is probably the big news of 2022. Oh, it's weird to say that.
I mean, I tried for quite a long time, and it's very easy to get I could get really bitter about this because my army that I love that I picked on, I like how they play. I do like how they play. I love how they play. I love how unforgiving they are. All of that stuff, but there's only so much
you can hate yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, exactly that. And for someone who I always want to have a chance, and to know that in the rock paper scissors. Of turning up to any tournament in the UK, which is pretty competitive, lots of really good players, that if I turn up, my what feels like 1,700 points, maybe 18, I don't think that's an exaggeration. I'm going to have to play my tits off to not get my shit pushed back in. And some things, at
least Jeremy's got tits to play off. No, I'm kidding.
So only ever had one on one side, and that is That's no more. I've been vasectomied. So yeah, Slaanesh is gone, and basically the reason I was continuing to play, because it's not like it just got bad. It wasn't great. The reason I was playing it was out of a faith that it was so obvious that they needed help that they would get help, and like didn't happen the first time or the second time, and now it's not happened the third. I'd just be an idiot to continue. So
Well, I
shelf them,
think the
shelf
first
love.
time was the release, wasn't it? The second time was the handbook, but I don't think they got a fair crack at the whip, pardon the pun, because of timing.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you got to remember that everything's on a handbrake. So like,
Oh yeah.
when the handbook was done, the Slaanesh wasn't out, so like it can't really be adjusted.
Was made worse though at that point.
Yes, but everything.
Yeah, so
was
like
scaled
an action
up,
was,
and then some stuff got.
An action was. Yeah, it was undertaken, and it didn't make things any better. And on the third time of that, I think I'd be an idiot to continue. So I'm trying to not be an idiot, and apparently, fun with cabbages is where things is at.
Yeah, yeah. So you've decided to take the moral high ground and put them in the bin, like.
Well, I'm just going to pick an army that feels like it's getting love at the moment, or a faction. I think that is, that's the simplest way to answer why I've chosen what I have. I have love for it. It feels like it's written with a great deal of love, lots of options, easy like allies and segueing into different armies if I get bored, having run exactly the same list for pretty much a year straight, which I did. I got some value out of. But there's loads of options in destruction and the low model count armies. And you and I have spoken at length, like. Destruction are probably the most fun faction to play out of the four if you were to look at things on balance. I don't think anyone would disagree with that, really.
Depends what you like. I find that Destruction are like fun, but they lack a lot of the depth. Depends what you enjoy. Like if you enjoy that, I think they're I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. They're probably the easiest to enjoy without a big mental load of having to bookkeep and read into rules. I don't mean that they're easy to play. I just mean that, gargants aside, sorry, smooth brain players. No, I just mean that it's like you can play with
a good game.
With like Iron Jaws, for example, have a good time without having to worry too much about synergy rules and stuff. That maybe not a huge great example, but
I'd argue, maybe some of them go a bit too much that way. But I'd argue with the game being a bit baggy at the moment, that is a really sensible idea. And you and I have spoken a lot about 4 wall scroll armies, 3 wall scroll armies, like limiting your amounts of hordes on the table. They do all of that shit for you just by existing, unless you're playing Goon Spike Kits. So
yeah.
On the subject of things that don't get love, but it's not an option to have a spammy army really, and you can do really well with non-spammy armies. You can turn up your 4 wall scrolls, learn the shit out of them, which is what I like nerding out about, and then just expect that you'll go and have a really good time, and probably have a really good time with a few less headaches. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's why I went to them as the obvious option. I've also played Order a lot, and that was a factor. Order have got loads of love. I've not played Chaos, but too many models, faffy models, that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So just
embrace the meat side. Thanks,
James is like, you held out longer on the head knights than he did. So yeah, it's hi Andrew as well. I don't know, why have you got to wait till Jan the 1st to build the dragons? Is it just like, is it a self-imposed rule, or is it some sort of special occasion you're not allowed until then? Has Brad locked them away and you're not allowed them until the 1st of January? Is that what's happened? So it's
I've just seen Brad saying about his cabbages. Brad, I cannot think of a more you army than and it's cabbages plural. Good man. So you double cabbage, triple cabbage. Please make my day and say that you're doing triple cabbage.
I think that's
Brad with the triple cabbage list would be the most Brad thing I've ever heard in my life. I think.
We shouldn't encourage Brad to do Brad things.
Side is not. I presume embracing the meat side is a suggestion for a friendly cuddle. In Iron Boys, which I love instead of Iron Jaws, are you considering running Kragnos? I've built Kragnos. I'm very much considering it.
Yeah, you're definitely in, aren't you? Okay, Andrew's being really strict with the rules. New year, new army. I was like, okay, yeah, it's not really not a bad thing. Yeah, I mean, it's you've started building the Kragnos, haven't you? So you sent me a lovely picture of his seal lines that you were sealing, but it happened to be a crotch shot of
his weird Ken lump. Yeah, two
Ken lump.
cabbages. Two is enough, Brad. I think that's still scary. Good evening, Maudsley.
Yeah, hi
Yeah,
Tom.
so I'm doing that normal 3-step building, and like I would like to get something on the table fast as well, and I would like to have the prospect of getting on the table looking good, i.e. painted fast. I don't enjoy assembly one bit, but will probably do it myself. You know, all of these factor into a lower model count army. I want to do one with nice models, and Destruction's got good models, enjoyable
Yeah.
to paint, enjoyable to play. Not too many of them. You know, change one model, change 500 points. It's all you know. All of those were tickling away while I was labouring, you know, with fiddly Slaanesh models that die in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about a good, robust Orc model, isn't there? It's
Oh, completely.
it's kind of like it's got that kind of hardness. I don't sound, it just got that like that robustness to it that you're not going to worry about breaking it. Whereas when you play with like
Yeah,
Lumineth or Slaanesh, you're always worried about breaking everything, and they feel a bit flimsy.
completely.
And Tom, I may have bought an Iron Jaws army. I did wonder if you were going to take that up because I saw it on offer, and I thought I bet Tom's going to get that.
Yeah, it's
I
a
was
good
tempted
deal.
myself,
I think he,
actually.
I think he part X'd his army in for it or something like that, maybe
Yeah.
even, which is really good. What are you doing then? I've rabbited on about why I like Destruction. Do you like Destruction? What are you what were you playing? Why aren't you playing it
Well,
anymore? I'm not saying 'cause you, and where are
I'm
you
not
going?
playing at the moment, which is annoying. But unfortunately, my games got cancelled due to people being ill, non-COVID related and COVID related for my 2 games I had lined up. So I've still yet to play with Nurgle.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not playing OBR Nagash. So that's what I'm not doing. I did get some Stormcast stuff sent by GW, like some dragons, and there was a list we were talking about, but we were going to go to a team event early this year, and that's kind of been that got cancelled because of restrictions and rules, and unfortunately, so that's been postponed a
Is
bit.
that a factor, Russ? Like, is the factor that you going to these events is unreliable now because we don't know what's going on with our fun that we're allowed to do? Like, do you think that affects the army? Are you going to pick one that's nicer to paint on your own, even if you don't get to play as much? Are you going to pick something less competitive? Does
Yeah,
that factor in at all to
it
your
does at the
decision?
moment, like, because like my hobby is gaming at events. Doesn't necessarily
Not buying
mean,
miniatures.
well, yeah, that too, but like, so when I game, it's at events, is what I'm saying. So if events
Yeah,
aren't
yeah.
happening, I'm not gaming really. I do play the odd game around my house, but if that's not happening, then that's not happening either. So I kind of want to. I've got a lot of stuff from the old days of AOS. I've got like Flesh Eater's Army. My Nurgle was done for the end times on square bases, and then I upgraded it to
Yeah.
rounds when the original Maggot King came out, and I took that to Adepticon in
And you don't
2018, I
want to
want to
pick
say.
flesh eaters or something because you want to pick something that's got competitive legs.
Yeah, because if I'm
Yeah.
playing at events, I need to be excited about it, and Flesh Eaters haven't
Hmm.
had a new book. Obviously, Maggot King have just had a new book. I don't know how competitive they are, but that's not really a big factor in my decision making nowadays. Like, even because if I want to turn on that, I can turn that on and go and get
Yeah.
the latest thing, and but I don't really find any fulfillment in it.
You're gonna spend a while painting these as well, aren't you? I presume because you guys weren't done fast. Your beautiful Nurgle army before it's done efficiently for its level. I'd
Yeah,
argue, but
so
wasn't bashed out in a weekend.
no, some was dipped actually for people who remember that. But the stuff that I did with love, like the Blight Kings, and which I've got up on the screen now, which I've done some like videos on it, and I really like the mortal side, so people can see my kings on the screen. So like it's simplistic stuff. I think I might add to the basing. I've got some like mushrooms and stuff I might add because I think that might make them look cool. Which I've
Sweet.
come into supply of some of those. But yeah,
Wonderful.
the army's a bit of a
You must
labour
have
of
a very
love.
lovely mushroom supplier.
Yes, not those kind though. And like I've got like this guy is my Lord of Afflictions conversion. He was actually my battle standard on Palaquin back in the day. Now I really like the army and I like the mortals, my demon stuff's the rush bit, so like my plague bearers and stuff like that, apart from my great and clean one, because that was the new kit when it came out.
Such a good kit.
And I kind of want to revisit them because with the new changes, like the Maggot Lords, I love the Maggot Lords. I've got the End Times Glotkin book when they come out, and they really appeal to me. I think the models are great. I really wanted to run all three in a list. It wasn't really viable for the game. I did take Blab competitively and did well with him. I actually won Blood and Glory using him, and I took him to Adepticon and did pretty well there. He only dropped one game. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to painting them. Because it's not that I have to think about the color scheme or what I'm doing, because I've already got that. I've already done some models, but it is a labor of love in a way. It is a little bit, and Nurgle's always fun to paint, right? I mean,
you used Duncan tutorials, didn't you? So you've got
I adapted them. Yeah, so I've got up on the there was an army back in the day, and I can't remember. Yes, Tom, Morbidix is you in model form. I agree with that. He's got your grin, but you never seem to smile. So
Tom's also said that he's really enjoying playing the Nurgle. He said some nice things about them.
Yeah, I think, and that's what appeals to me as well, that they're a bit of a player's army. They compete in all phases. They're not like grotesquely overpowered, so no, they're not, but they're also like not rubbish. So it's a bit like where I thought OBR were sort of sitting.
Yeah.
And I enjoy playing with them in the past, and I'm hoping that the new book, from what I read, seems it's really, really cool. And I'm like, well, I'm like excited to play it, and other people I've told me how good they are to play, so I was like, yeah, cool. So yeah, the Duncan tutorial, I adapted it slightly, so I added some more stages on the skin, and the armor is actually, I went to, oh god, it must be 6th edition event, and I was a really nice Nurgle army, and the guy had done all the army in like metallics with like tinting.
Okay.
And so when I did mine, because I haven't done the traditional like green armor highlight, I've done it like normal metallics, and I've stained it with inks to give it like a blue bottle sheen. It doesn't really show up in the photos, but in real life, when you twist the model around, you can see the reflection.
True metallic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just to make the armor look almost like corrupted silver rather than green armor, if that makes sense. It's not painted green. It's kind of just corroded and gone a bit weird because it's been strapped to these like grotesque rotting guys. So yeah, it's more, there's a painting element to it, but also there's a gaming element to it, and for me that both are important. And recently I think for painting, I've kind of like, I've done a lot of quick paint jobs where I'm not trying to paint something to a high level. I'm just trying to get it on the table. And I think the nature of the way the game works, where the stuff changes so quickly, I think you're almost forced into like what I call is like being on the roller coaster of the meta chase or meta set, where you're constantly trying to find the list of thinking about how people are adapting to what's coming out, what the list is. It doesn't necessarily need to be an internet list.
600 points in a weekend.
Yeah,
you know, that's what your list needs. Yeah.
And it's like you can't. That doesn't really lend itself to hobby with love or hobby to a high level. I'm not saying you can't do an effective job quickly, but I think
all of yours have looked great.
Makes a massive impact to the enjoyment of getting models on the table.
Do you think you feel less ownership of that army when you are on the table as well? Do you feel less like you're trying to do well for your guys if you've not? It might not even be, you know, the level of the paint job. It might just be you are less invested in them as a whole. You're less proud of them. Or
like I think when I got my Nagash out, and I upscaled my OBR, although it was done quickly and it was done simply, I was really proud of them. So like it made it fun using them.
Yep.
But I wouldn't say that they're a labour of love, but they've turned out nicely. So
yeah,
it's but the Nurgle is kind of like, I've got some really nice models, so I feel like I've got a good foundation to add to. So I don't feel like it's a massive milestone. So because when I'm looking at doing a new army, looking at a 2,000 point, particularly with summoning, Slaanesh aside, because you only have to do 1,500 points of normal army. Yeah.
The list of good reasons just carries on flowing.
I think the problem is like the emphasis is like the mountain seems like quite a big journey, and what I'm worried about is by the time I get to the end of that journey, the list or the army is no longer viable or as relevant for the type of environment I'm gaming in. And I actually think it's a bit of a problem with the game at the moment where it moves so fast.
I would agree.
Completely. And I think it puts off. It certainly puts me off. I can't talk for other people, but it puts me off investing time and energy into an army. The difference with the Nurgle, I feel like it's not at a level which is going to be, and for want of a better word, fucked around with too much. And
or fixed if it's an issue.
Yeah, fixed. Or adjusted or messed around with, and it doesn't. It is just a solid army, and I don't think it's ever not going to not be okay. I don't think I'm going to take it to events and be competing for podiums, but that's not necessarily my motivation anymore. I like being competitive, but I don't care about being on a podium. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tom, like you're right, you could get away with 10 plague bearers, one of each character, maybe it's a Nurgle. So I've already got 30 plague bearers. I've actually got another 20 unbased. They've just not been rebased. I actually found them in a box. So, you know, I've got a lot of the stuff. I've got some assembled stuff. So, and it's a shame for me because I don't have like a club to game in. So I kind of only game at events. I'm not saying that events are super competitive because there's a group of people there that I'm happy to play with. But if you end up with the draw and you end up playing like 3 or 4 people that have gone there for different reasons, then it can be a tough. But I kind of like the challenge. I like the challenge of playing against a hard list with a kind of mediocre average one and trying to compete against it. But sometimes
you want to feel like your toolbox is giving you a chance.
Yeah, but some armies I don't think you can play out of. Like and like it's an uphill struggle, but like I don't think, for example, like Beasts of Chaos, you could write a list where you could go in and compete with some of the stuff because it just doesn't have it. It doesn't matter what you do; it just doesn't have it. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's my
completely. I mean, I feel like I've been not to Beasts of Chaos level because they really do have a very hard time with anything but having lots of bodies. That's how I felt quite a lot with Slaanesh, and that was me dipping, you know, heavily into significantly different feeling allies, being things that rocket around that are very elite with a 3-up save that do mortal wounds, all of which are things that my army doesn't do. So I had 2 times 280 points worth of those in my list, and I still felt really, you know, pretty tricky. You were just I would like to look forward to not knowing what I'm going to face rather than dreading not knowing what I'm going to face, if that makes sense. You know, like, like if it's this, I'm not even going to be in it. I'll try my best to be a nice opponent and give them a bit of a challenge for 2 turns. Like, that's not enjoyable, right?
No, and I think it sometimes it's. I know that people could say, "Well, you made the decision to take that list to the event," you know. But it's like, but if you're the thing about the weird thing about like the Games Workshop hobby is we get a bit of a tangent here, but it's not. You're not. There's an element of enjoyment of the painting, the hobby, the background, the lore, which has got nothing to do with the thing on the game, but it doesn't mean that you don't care about that as well. And it's trying to
right?
It's exactly. You're trying to find that balance of something you enjoy and you like, and you enjoy the models and painting, and you're proud of them, but also something that you can go to an event and not feel like you're just being hammered for. You know,
completely.
Because I don't want to pay all that money and to spend all that time traveling to the time on the table. Although I like a game that's back and forth swingy. So I don't mind like playing Legion. Like when I played my Nagash Archeon against the Legion of the First Prince list, it's a very hard list he had. My list, I don't think it's amazingly hard. It's quite good, but we had a great game. And because it was back and forth and it could have gone either way. And I don't think you get those moments if you take certain armies. No, I think it's either you get a close game or you just lose. And it's
probably tricky, isn't it? Because if you're having the type of game that you can have when you're not going to events, I don't know about you, but very often I won't say like to the dude I'm going to play like, you know, Brad, what's in your list or or whatever. But I'll say, I'm not, I am like, please bring something cutting edge. But I feel, in those games, you do specify a little bit what you might be up against. What type of game are we having? And we all know what that question means. It means, am I going balls to the wall? Am I practicing for an event? Is it going to be a team event? Like, is it properly, for lack of a better phrase, you're just there to learn how to win with your army? Or are you going to have that back and forth one? If you turn up to an event, that prior discussion obviously hasn't happened. So you have no say in whether you start on a level playing field other than picking your list.
Yeah, and I agree with what Tom's saying, that Nurgle are perfect for a back and forth game they can't put to bed early, because it's got that, and that's, I think, the difference with Slaanesh, where it's so fragile that the games can just go away from you really quickly, whereas at least with Nurgle, that you might be on the loose in, it's got that longevity to the game, so at least you feel like you've got some...
Summoning after summoning.
Yeah.
Damage over time stuff. You tick up, don't you? Whereas my resources just get low until I drop this crazy summoning thing on the table, and if I don't get enough points to do that or don't get the turn, then I don't drop it and I lose the game.
Yeah, so I think for me, I need to find a balance between something I enjoy model wise and background wise, because I need to paint them, and I think I've lost the joy of painting over the years, and I need to try and rekindle that a little bit. And I think being involved in the process and being a tester and stuff doesn't help with that. It kind of worsens that. And I kind of want to revisit the Nurgle army, because I feel like it's unfinished, because I've got some models assembled, not painted. I've got some gaps in the list, and by going back and like painting them basically rounds out my collection and gives me one. And then, like, down the line I might flip back to one of my death factions, or but I need to stop doing is, I've got a lot of armies. I mean, I've got a Kragnos I've picked up, and I've got a Slaves army in a box, and I've got an Ironjawz army in a box, and I've got a Daughters of Cain army in a box. Am I ever going to paint them? Because I can't play with everything, and if I only play a limited number of times a year, I need to really decide what am I going to play. And it's not necessarily that
you want to play a different army, because you've swapped so much, which you're very good at, and you get enjoyment from. But are you feeling like you want to stick with an army for a bit?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the reason of swapping as well is because I am a tester. I feel obligated to a point to have a broader, so less specialized, but a broader knowledge base. So when doing feedback, I could be more balanced, in my opinion. Because if you're very focused on a faction, everything ins and outs, depth of that faction, but it's very hard then to understand nuances of other factions, whereas I think you do need specialists. There's some I'm specialised in, I would say I know very well, and there's others I have a very sort of broad knowledge. And I think that, for me, I would like to spend a bit of time with the Nurgle, because I think that that's going to be a rewarding journey, and because they're just out, I can't see them being messed around with too much.
They seem like a good level as well. Obviously, it's early days, but I'd agree. They don't feel like they need fixing, and they don't feel like anything is drastically awful, or the book is on average awful or too powerful.
No, exactly. And I think you've got some iron. So you're going to Ironjawz, aren't you? With Kragnos is your immediate.
That's where I'm predicting I'm going to start. Should we just kind of jump into that as a whole then? Why I'm doing it?
Yeah, and I've got some of your photos of your war chant that you did. I think you did it. We covered it on the show a long time ago, but I think you did it.
Yeah.
If you done it on an AO video, where you talk about freehand and stuff.
No, I didn't. I was testing. Basically, I felt like I hadn't done any hard painting, and really challenged myself for ages. So I spent far too long on one model. This is not how my army is going to be painted. I don't think this is a good level, but this is to show that I have dipped my toes into them before. I did quite a few practice games with them.
Because you kind of dabbled with the green, haven't you? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
And you did a nice gargant that we that you did a video on as well. Which is he going to feature?
He could do. It's an option, but Kragnos now has gargant rules. I do think also I have a prediction for what's going to happen in the future. People are going to complain that Kragnos is too good. For his points now. They will.
He will.
I don't know. Like Does anyone disagree with that statement, by the way? Be interested to hear if the viewers disagree. Or if they think he's fine, but there's going to be an initial reaction, let us know in the comments. Chat can let us know. But so that's going to happen. But I think the moment that anyone says that, they have to have a serious think about Gargants, because they are not, like, Kragnos didn't get too good. Scoring on objectives that powerfully is just good. And I think if he's an issue in games, it's going to be that is the problem. This is my prediction. Might not turn out to be exactly that. He's very good in a lot of ways. He does a lot of damage. He's now got a 6-up ward, which goes a long way when you've got a lot of wounds, or it's more helpful than none. And he can do, he's got his charge abilities, and maybe they'll synergize a bit too powerfully with particular things.
But, with ogres, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Like with ogres, but it's also strength in Iron Jaws, charging out sequence and stuff like that. But actually, what matters and why I can do the armies I'm planning on doing is because of how he scores on objectives. The list, like, I'm dropping in 700 whatever it is points, and I'm super happy to do that because he's gonna punch above his weight on that 1 6-inch section of the table, and that is going to allow me to do stuff. So yeah, I'm just really interested to see how he goes down in the scene. And I would imagine people complain that he does loads of damage and stuff like that, but actually I think what will be good is just that. We know it's powerful, and paying 700 something points for it is cheaper than, like, Gargants are significantly cheaper than. So he will feature. The Gargant might feature. He's not in any of the lists that I've written. The Rogue Idol may feature. He doesn't feel, he's not great value. Does have a ward, which is nice. And then I'm just going to go for minimum model count, basically, and try and work out the synergies. It'll be character heavy. Absolutely. I would be very surprised if my lists feature me spending more than 500 points on anything that isn't a character.
Yeah, and I think, like, the way you approach the army is like a couple big blobs and some minimum core, and like it's just about the big things. And I think I think when you play destruction that way, it's a really refreshing way to play. And I know that you've played the Cutting Ruck in the past, for people who don't know, and that's like lots of bodies and sort of tricksy synergy with shooting. I know the list is kind of dead now, but
I had surprisingly good games with it, but on average I wouldn't say it's designed for a good gaming experience for the player
and
as
like,
well as the opponent.
I know you love your rogue idols, and you've got 2 of them because you're mad.
I've got a third which I would build and paint differently.
So
why not?
I know you've been thinking about maybe putting the idol in as well. I really like the way as well with the generic artifacts that because you can take the wizard hat, you can get away with not having a wizard but still get the benefit of having access to the lore, which although it's not very reliable, it's still good enough.
Yeah, so people have actually Yosoi Bush has just put Arcane Tome Destroyer is what I like right now.
Yeah, Destroyer, I love
Armor of Gork or Destroyer for the cabbage. Armor of Gork, is that the...
That's the 6-up ward with the minus movement and the +1 to wound or hit roll, one of the 2.
It's -2 to move, isn't it? I actually have considered that, which seems mad. I would
just not on a foot boss, right? It's now movement 2.
Oh god. Yeah, it seems mad that I would ever, of my own volition, choose something that says -2 move value on something that degrades anyway. Let's remember that. Like, being -6 instead of -4 is a big, is a big deal.
I think as well, like, when you've got like a more crusher, the -2 move doesn't really matter when you're moving twice at a sequence or 3 times. You can get around it, and once you're in combat, you don't need to be that fast. So I think now the amulets are 6-up, it's actually going to see some play. Obviously, before you'd never take it, but the bonus to wound is good. I think it's wound.
You mentioned
is it wound
spells.
or hit? I can't remember.
It's +1 to hit. +1 to hit.
If it's wound, I'd be more down on it. As in, like, more happy about it or more encouraging of it.
I would be all over that if that was a wound buff. So on the subject of wound buffs, and you also mentioned the difficulty of casting the spells, the Rogue Idol, it's kind of the subtle but obvious plus of having him in the army is +1 to cast. If you have to Iron Jaw spells, and you're going to care about 2 of them, in my opinion, being pick up your model, or your model, your unit, and put it elsewhere, and a Gork, or what's it called? The Basham lads, Smash
Yeah,
'em lads,
Basham lads. Yeah,
Basham lads,
it's on an
which
8.
is a huge +1 to wound bubble wholly within 18 or 16 or something like that. And yeah, like cast on an 8. There's a really huge difference between an 8 and a 7, and there is an even bigger difference between a 7 and a 6. I don't like the wizards is a really difficult one. Like I want to put a weird nubbing because I want to use my favorite model ever in Warhammer, which is Nazgob the Shaman, which is a
Oh,
historical.
I love that model.
I want to. Fucking,
Back
like,
from
let's have some love
the
in.
was it Idol of Gork campaign set from 5th edition?
Just leaning on it is great. Big bonus
Yeah, I've got
stuff.
he is my weird knob that I have him in a box. I've got a surprising number of special edition metal orc models that are in my Angels.
Oh, they are good. The range is good. I mean,
Brian Nelson
come on that in a bit.
Very good.
Yeah, it's so like that's one of the pluses to the Rogue Idol. Getting +1 to cast is a really big deal. It's also vanilla quick, and it can benefit from all of the buffs in Iron Jaws. That if you want to pick it up and teleport it, you can and stuff like that. So that would potentially be in. I guess it's. Should we pop up the list with the Rogue Idol in? You have that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yo Soybush put that Foot Boss with Armor Gork can move forward with Mighty Destroyers. Oh, you mean 2 and then 2 again? I thought you meant it's move 4 in the hero phase. No, yeah.
Moved twice, went for Dwarf Fire.
It's like makes Go Trek looks fast. So what do you want to put your list up? I'm gonna have to populate it.
It's all good. The Rogue Idol one. It's it won't take.
I don't think it'll take very long, so I didn't bother making a fancy graphic.
I can do it.
My mouse pointer would be
really
really useful.
Off the top of my head, I think Rogue Idol, Kragnos, Cabbage, War Chanter, 3x5.
So it's Big War? No, it's Iron Jaws, right?
Yeah.
Are you Iron Suns?
It is. Yes, absolutely. I don't want to play anything else.
And Grand Strategy? Beastmaster?
Gonna be monsters, yeah.
Iron Jaws.
Why wouldn't it be? I mean, it's ridiculous.
So you've got
killing those 3 guys.
What is in your list then? More Crusher?
So start off with Kragnos, I guess, or we can add him at the end. So it's More Crusher, War Chanter, 3x5 minimum battle line Ard Boys.
What's this?
And a Rogue Idol, who is in their section now. Don't have to go elsewhere to get him from allies or anything.
2000 on the nose.
Yeah, it feels like fate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a bloody blunt instrument. Let's not try and call it anything than that. Like that is you turn up, you pop that down on the table, and you run at your opponent as fast as possible and hit them as hard as possible. There's no room for wiggling at all. Your one wiggle is the War Chanter, and you wouldn't want to drop him.
Oh no, you've got to take a War Chanter. He's like auto include.
One of the things that I struggle with is whether you try and put it in a 1-drop or not. Like in general, the Iron Jaws book does really well not being low drop, but these type of lists, I don't think benefit from it.
You can't
enough.
really be a 1-drop though, can you? 2-drop minimum.
You could be 2 or 3. Yeah.
Because I think because the idol can fit. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And 2's good. Like,
does it matter?
Pretty solid. Quite a lot of people out there are like 4-5, that type of thing. And I think you want that option more than what are you going to do? You're going to make.
I was just looking at it, going, you can't take Warlord.
You're going to put something on your weird.
You can't. You don't care about hunters. You don't.
No.
You don't care about. You might take. You can't take Alpha Beast Pack. You could take. Maybe some of the things that give you like extra runs or stuff, but you don't really care about that either, do you? No, I guess you would just go 1-drop because.
Well, so I mean, this is chat. You are on point tonight. So a couple of guys in chat, Escher Badigi, I can't pronounce that, and Matt Taylor having a discussion about protecting Kragnos and the 6-up ward not being enough. A 1-drop is protection. Or a 2-drop in this case. That goes in a lot of matchups. That ensures that you are going to be going first or not going first. And
it's also protection because you're like, I need to get rid of the Maw Crusher. If you're dealing with the Maw Crusher, you're not dealing with Kragnos.
Yeah. Oh, you've got target saturation down. You've got an idol which has got a 5-up, a Maw Crusher which could have a 6-up, and then Kragnos which has a 6-up. You've got Best Day Ever in your pocket. This list Best Day Ever is a lot. It also needs CPs more, a lot, and that is an issue with the list. I think because you're not going to be generating because of how good Best Day Ever is, which you're going to use. In the first 2 turns, you're going to use Best Day Ever on Kragnos and on the cabbage. Just you are at some point. It's going to make sense. So you're quite low on CPs with it, but like I said, it's 2,000 points. It just about fits, and it's a blunt instrument.
Yeah. Do you make your Maw Crusher the general or the War Chanter?
Maw Crusher general.
Yeah, got to be in it.
Yeah, I think there's options. So yeah, exactly. There's some options with how you outfit. I think you can go a load of different ways. It's way more open than I thought. I quite like Smellian, which is -1 to hit if you've not charged, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
With the mount trait, there's some really good stuff in there, and you need to be thinking about that when you get that united front forward. Probably, I mean, maybe you just make the War Chanter a wizard to have an option of it. Or you could do the cabbage as a wizard.
The other thing I like with the cabbage is if you take Arcane Tome, you can give him the command trait, which is
reroll cast.
No, it's touched by the War, so it does a mortal wound to something within 9, and then you get bonuses to cast. So, but you can do it because in the hero phase you can use your Fasten and Mighty Destroyer's move to move near the enemy, and then use that on them, and then get a bonus to your cast.
Oh, nice.
So it's
really cute.
It is cute.
Nice play.
Obviously you're probably better off trying to give him some sort of like ward or protection. Smellian, I think, has gone up in stock since the amulets changed.
Completely. And utterly.
And
I think it was good anyway, but now it's obviously good.
Yeah. And it's whether or not, if you go for a caster, do you need Green Hand? I mean, Green Hand dropping the idol, because it is a Iron Jaws, isn't it? You can wizard. You can idle it.
It's got vanilla 10-inch move, and it's pretty easy to get that and your cabbage to move twice. Like 20 inches and then a charge is often going to be plenty. I think Green Hand
because he's still got the Iron Jaws keyword, right? So you can
really importantly, he works better in Iron Jaws than he does in Cool Boys, where you miss him not doing mortals.
Because he doesn't have the Auric keyword, which is why he doesn't get the venom encrusted weapon trait.
Yeah, real shame. Which I think that could be changed, and he wouldn't be bent at all. He'd be a great option, and you could cover him in swampy stuff. He'd look amazing. So yeah, that's it really. I think there's a discussion about Green Hand, and I think it is worth having that over Bash 'em Lads or Smash 'em Lads, at the point at which you've got a decently sized battle line unit. So because they're slower, they got less move, unless it's piggies, but still, then I think it's great. If you've got a non-minimum size unit, then I think at that point the teleport goes up.
Because Bash 'em Lads, is it friendly units or is it just Auric units? Let me just have a quick look.
It's.
I just wonder if you'd buff Kragnos.
Oh, that's a good question. It's probably Auric.
Law of the Weird. Iron Jaws. So it would buff everything apart from him, which makes sense, but I just thought there might be a loophole. Sometimes they say friendly, don't they? So,
no, the only thing that catches him is, and he's not cheap enough, and he doesn't make sense, but it's Gordrak. So, if you want to all out, and there, I think...
Well, that's intentional, isn't it? Because he's big war.
Still needs his points to go down more. Also, he got 20 points cheaper on a 560-point model or whatever it was.
Yeah, so you'd have to find 80 points, which I don't, without dropping, you'd have to drop the Rogue Idol, wouldn't you? So,
the War Chanter, maybe.
Oh, no, you can't.
I know.
It's too big, man.
It's a completely different list available where you drop the Rogue Idol, you have bigger battle line,
Because what's the list where you put 10 brutes in?
Yeah, so I could probably reel that one off the top of my head. It's quite a different list. So keep the same command, I think. Drop the Rogue Idol, and then 10 brutes, 5 Ard Boys, 5 Ard Boys.
Yeah, and you've got 200 points left, so... So
Okay,
Kragnos,
so
Chanter,
this is
Mega Boss. Is this
yeah.
the
So
allies
this
come
is
in?
well, this is a super interesting debate. So option number one is Megaboss on foot, who I think is brilliant for his points. Is
Hmm.
amazing. You can make him a wizard. And then option number two is a weird knob shaman to be able to have Basham lads and the teleport spell. You've got 10 brutes in there. Teleporting them in and then making a charge is grim for someone. If they've been war chanted, that is horrible.
Mm.
Absolutely horrible to be hit by that unit. Like that and a cabbage. Awful. That and a cabbage and Kragnos. Disgusting. Um, so you can have him and a fungoid shaman, or you could have two fungoid shamans. The fungoids are quite cheap, have a 4-up ward, only 4 wounds, but got 4-up ward, so may as well be 8. And they generate an extra CP on a 4+ every turn. And in this list, which I would call like, I don't know, cabbage patch counter charge or something, it's all about getting your CPs up just like mega reliably. And you would spend them like mad. Like every opportunity to spend a CP, I think you'd spend it. So the idea is with this, whenever someone goes into, you'll be like, cool, all out defense, or 2 or 3 redeploys. Well, it's 2 or 3 all out defenses, 2 or 3 all out defenses, 2 or 3 redeploys, all out attack, whatever it is, you can have CPs everywhere. And
You
I think
open up as well with this. You could open up Warlord,
oh,
and
completely.
then you
I
could have
think
Destroyer on the Maw Crusher and the Wizard Hat on the War Chanter. Then you've got 3
yeah,
wizards. Then, so you could access the Basham Lad's Green Hand and whatever the Fungoid can't have anything like the Funky, but
no,
Mystic Shield.
but
But
then you get Mystic Shield. That's really important. You can pop that on
yeah.
Kragnos, and then he can do his own thing, and he
Hmm.
doesn't, because you won't be able to give him, and he's not Iron Jaws, and you're not using. I mean, you could put Gordrak in. That's a super interesting list.
Yeah.
You'd have to fiddle around with things. You could have no Fungoid, the Weird Knob, and your cabbage could be Gordrak. The thing is, though, you pay more points and you get
Mm.
one less save, and I just think at that point you don't consider him. He's good.
So you need an
He would
extra
feel
60
horrible and
points for him, don't you? So yeah, you could
drop a Fungoid.
upgrade him. To...
Yeah,
You
he
could
should.
even, if you're
He
doing
gives
that,
you
you
the
could
same
even play
points.
Big War. I don't know if
Yeah,
playing Iron Jaws is worth.
it's only Kragnos being in there that makes me wonder about it.
Is that just so the
Um,
charges and the counter charge of Iron Suns is basically what you're
yeah,
saying?
yeah. Well,
Because
I'm re-rolling a 3d6 counter charges.
yeah, because basically Kragnos gives you a better charge, but then the Iron Suns units can in your opponent's phase charge. So
And
3d6 is better than
well, the
2.
wording as well is within 18, so it gives you
Yeah.
options.
Hmm.
That's really important. Your threat zone is a lot bigger
It makes
with
10
Kragnos in
brutes
there.
with jagged gore hackers, so the reach weapons a little bit more threatening because
Oh, yeah,
you've actually got the speed with that.
completely. And this is why I think you need the CPs, because you want to be sixing their run after, like if they've not been teleported,
Yeah.
and maybe you do that and Mighty Destroys them. You want to have options, and you can play for the next turn, which is rewarding in playstyle as well. So there's a load of lists kind of around that theme. One question I have for you, because you've written a lot of these lists,
Hmm.
like, can you ever make yourself not take Destroyer on the cabbage? Like is or do you just take it?
Oh, that's a shame.
It's
Can't
so
quite
good.
fit. I was just working out if you could take Gordrak, Auric, Megaboss, War Chanter, Kragnos, and then the 2 Zard Boys and the Brutes, but you're 5 points
Oh,
over. Because I think Gordrak's 540 now, is that right? Or is he 560 now? I can't remember if he's.
I think he's 540.
He would still wouldn't fit,
Maybe
but
some.
5 points over, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
it's difficult, isn't it? You
So what
can
was the
fiddle
question
things
you asked me?
around, and
Sorry, I was multitasking. I can't
it's
do
all
that.
right. Can you ever, like,
Not
another
take
thing you can't do
Destroyer.
apparently? Yeah.
Um, I really like. Yeah, it's a good point from Shelty that you can get round redeploy better with a 3d6 charge. Not worry about it too much.
Oh, completely, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
I
You can also
think.
close walls with your redeploys. It's wicked.
I think for me, like I really like destroying the cabbage because of smashing and bashing, if you're not running multiple hard-hitting Iron Jaws units, it's probably not worth it. So in the list where you've got the 10 brutes and the cabbage, I like it because the cabbage can go in, pop the destroyer, kill something, and you can immediately activate the brutes. In the other list, you don't really have to. I know you've got an idol, but it's so tough, you don't really need to worry about it. You don't really have that need, like to say, oh, I really want to like kill something to trigger smashing and bashing. So like you probably could get away with going wizard hat because the spell's probably more useful, because you don't have the wizard because you've just got a rogue idol, and then the rogue idol buffs wizards, and if you don't have wizards, it kind of feels like you're missing out on some of his value. But destroyer for me, I love it. It's always been in my lists. I just like the option to go in and just kill something. So
Yeah.
yeah, I actually think the
can't write list
Manticore
without
Venom's
it.
good. I think it's +1 to wound
Yeah.
on his attacks.
Completely. I looked at that.
I just love the fact that Destroyer basically just an answer for a lot of stuff that can like defend. You just like, well, I'll just Destroyer with the War, extra rend, gonna kill you. Jobs are good. And,
Completely.
you know, there's something to be said for having a damage 6 dude. You know, War Chanter buff and Destroyer. You just go in, like, damage 6.
Why wouldn't you want to?
I actually
so
think you could even get away with not running the free up save because you just want the extra attacks. Because that's his job. You might as well be good at it, right?
Well, at that point, obviously you don't get like I know you don't get Destroyer on him, but if you take Gordrak, his breath weapon is twice as good as the normal one. The normal one's breath weapon's okay. He's got 4 attacks. Pretty sure. Gordrak's got 8. And I think it's 3s and 2s, rend 1, damage 1. And he's going to be in range because he's incredibly fast. Okay, no, 6. 6 attacks, 2s and 3s, rend 1, damage 1. It also it pulls out CPs quite effectively, which is kind of, you know, you might benefit from that in the next phase where someone can, you know, can all out defense one thing but can't all out attack another because they run out of CPs. And I think it's an army that really punish people for where they spend their resources is going to be so important because you can punish people so much if they don't defend enough or screen enough or anything like that. Which again is another thing about having a good breath weapon. The chance of you crashing through with your stomp with Gordrak's quite a lot higher in multiple ways. So it's not all bad news for him, and I probably will try him out at some point, but I'll start with normal.
Yeah, and are you tempted to then branch into other Oroki things with once you've got Kragnos and some stuff? Are you thinking Big War might be? You've got Savage Orcs as well, so why not go into Cruel Boys? Or are you?
I don't know if I paint them the same. I've got so many models. I could paint some more in a different way. I like if the rogue. I wish the rogue idol benefited from other
the
rules.
Venom. Yeah.
Because then you've got more reasons to include him and do fancy stuff with him. But he benefits really nicely from the Bone Splitters buffs.
He does. Yeah.
Give him +1, can dance at him to give him +1 save, and then cast Mystic Shield on him to give +2 save.
So I really like the kind of like the War Chanter, War Doc, you know, like Big War, Gordrak. But I just think you run out of points very quickly. But
completely.
Still think Gordrak should be about 480. So, but
I know. I completely.
If a guard
he feels
that. Then, yeah.
Yep, couldn't agree anymore. His ability's not good enough, and the other one's got it. You know, if his ability's that good, the other one's got it, so he should be more expensive.
Because it's only relevant if you're playing Big War, right? Because if you're playing normal Orcs like Iron Jaws, then it basically doesn't do anything different, right?
And you should be encouraged to take King of the Iron Jaws in Iron Jaws, not only consider him if you're playing Big War.
I reckon they could have made it 4 units, and it wouldn't have felt egregious.
No, because they've all got to be in range as well. That's the other one, right? What if only 2 units of your army got there, which happens a lot, actually. You know, you've got these movement 5 dudes, slowly moving up the table, and then you've got these movement 10 things that have moved twice. Like a lot of the time, especially if someone doesn't make a charge, you're going to have the person screaming and one person to benefit from it. So a lot of the time you don't get it out of that unless you're playing conservatively, which is a way to play orcs, but might not be frequently.
Not very orky though, is it?
No, it's not. And this book does play like orcs should. It's not just spamming the board with Ard Boys, which was one of the most effective lists in the last book. I really like it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how you get on with it. If you played a game, did you said? your little practice game with it?
Yeah, I played really badly.
And still
Forgot
won, so it was a
I
winner.
no, I definitely didn't win, but I could
Smooth
have.
brained your way to victory.
No, brain wasn't smooth enough.
No,
So
didn't play
yeah,
gargles.
I did have Kragnos. I didn't get to make any use of him, so he failed the charge, and that was a big learning
Oh,
point for me.
even on 3d6.
With a reroll, yeah, it was a long charge.
Oh, okay.
So my opponent gave me turn one when they shouldn't have. I tried the low drops thing, so the high drops thing, and Warlord, and that made me really think that low drops did make sense. And the list was just something I came up with, completely last minute, hadn't considered it, ended up at like 1935 points. Kragnos, Megaboss on foot, War Chanter, Cabbage, 3x5 brutes. Something like that. And it still had absolute game. I think I could have won it turn one if I remembered my +1 rend from War and my +1 damage from having War Chanted him. But
that's pretty important. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Don't forget your tokens with these guys. They benefit from it. Your turn one matters a lot. They're not.
I remember when
it's
I
not
played
a slow thing.
My first. Brad, I haven't got time to show you that. They didn't touch me. They just walked away from me and stood on objectives on 1 wound and winning the game by just standing there. Brad asked me, show me where on the dolly where the gargants touched you.
They touched me wherever Russ's objectives are.
Wherever they want to.
With 30 wounds. 30 wounds with 1 wound left is probably how and where they touched you.
Yeah, every time. Yeah, I mean, I think like I played my first game with Iron Jaws and I forgot half their rules because they've got a lot. They seem simple,
quite a lot,
but they're not.
No, you just need to know some. I think a few reps with the army, and basically you'll be playing them at a level where you and your opponent can have a good time. You're not reading loads of stuff. Although their saves and stuff are completely intuitive. You look at a model and you could guess its wounds and save and hit and wound rolls. I really like that. I think it's very well thought out in that respect.
No, I agree. I think I really enjoyed playing with them, and I took them to Carnage. And Dan lent me his, so I really had a great time. Although weirdly, I kind of scratched the itch, and then I thought, well, do I want to paint mine? And I was like, I got into OBR Nagash, and then the theme event where I was taking Nagash and Blood Knight, so I wanted to practice with that, and then I played that, and then I was like, oh, what am I doing now? And I got excited for Nagash, and Nagash got fingered. And I was like, Nurgle come out, so I've been a little bit flippy floppy. I think the Iron Jaws as well. I did a commission Maw Crusher, and like that kind of scratched the itch for painting them as well.
Yeah, you really enjoyed it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Give it away at the end.
Unfortunately, well, give it away, sell it, but yeah, it was. I was kind of like, I don't know. I kind of want to do this army, but then like they're very popular. A lot of people are playing them, and I'm worried that
you can borrow mine if you want.
Stuff might get changed, and yeah, and to be honest, like I kind of scratched the itch enough to know that sure, I like the army, and I'll probably do it at some point, but I'm not infused to play it now. I've tested the list that I wanted to play and had a lot of fun. And I'll move on. So yeah, Nurgles, but I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, tell me about the Khorne.
Yeah, Khorne got game, but I just think the lists that have gamer take as many monsters as you can, which I get why people wouldn't.
They've been that way for a while, to be honest. Take Bloodthirst as at least you had a little bit of mortal play with the Slaughter Priest, with the Blood Boil Coven, but that kind of got screwed over at AOS 3. So
yeah, when the battalions went, you had 3 up on a reroll, didn't you? I guess
not only that, you could actually do Blood Boil more than once, but now you can't.
No,
so, and your priest could do 3 prayers, so you could do a Rafax, their War Scroll one, and the Law one, and re-roll them. And then you get one, and you can't duplicate the War Scroll. And well, it was just that threat when they get near you, and you just go take 3d6 mortal wounds, and it's like, can't stop it.
That plus a Bloodthirst are doing AOE mortals.
One of my greatest moments was using Get Over Here on a Great and Clean one and pulling him over his own tree and Nurgle and off the objective in the monster capture one, Duality or whatever it was. And then sweeping in, making a 12-inch charge with my Wrathmongers and deleting the Great and Clean one. It was like pure sex from a bloody Khorne point of view. And it was against Terry as well, which was even better. So he never forgave me.
I'm so sure he remembers it.
Oh, he does. I remind him enough. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I do hope Khorne get there. I get some love in
Yeah,
the future,
they've
and like what they've
fallen on
done
the bad
with.
side of edition changes.
Yeah, and like I say, they've had some points adjustments, but who cares? Like, like Wrathmongers and stuff went down, but it doesn't really matter. I remember back in the day, I had the old Blood Mist formation with 4 units of 5 Wrathmongers, so I've got 20 painted, and I've got 20 Skull Reapers as well, and I've got
Such good models.
40 Blood Warriors. So I've got all the shit models painted.
All the infringed.
As in, like, they're good models, but the rules aren't exactly amazing.
Not great in the year of the monster.
I did absolutely. I had a really good game against Craig Namvar with his Durfu, and the Skull Reapers were on point in that game with their mortals. So normally they're a bit of a damp squid, but it's no. I do hope the Khorne can come back and not just be a Bloodthirster army. So like, because Bloodthirsters are cool, but I kind of like the mortals. So
yeah, has just said that they're really good. They're amazing for their points. I completely agree. If they were in a better army, they would have got fixed. Like
especially Infinite Rage. I still think four Infinite Rage are like.
It's hard for anyone to deal with that. Absolutely. Has anyone got any has the chat got any questions about anything specifically more about why we've picked armies, or have you got armies that you're considering, or what do people consider? I guess we've probably covered for each of us why you're picking Nurgle. Got a lot of love for the models. You want to take your time over a project. You feel they are stable, for lack of a better phrase. They're not going to go up or down hugely. And you also believe and have heard from others that they've got a rewarding playstyle, which is a playstyle you're into.
And I might disagree with that if I play them and then go, well, actually, no, I don't agree with this. But
I think you'd be good.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we shall see.
Started appearing. Do you think Legion of Blood has some competitive viability with the White Dwarf? Yeah, they were good anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, forget about Nagash, but they have absolute game. Blood Knight meta. Sorry, Black Knight meta.
Black Knights. I think everyone knows that the Infinite Rage is busted. That's why you always see it in the Legion armies.
That's the only reason he needs fixing is Legion, but Legion breaks everything.
Yeah, but not so much. Though people complain about the Plague Bearer change, but I don't think it's that big a deal. I've been thinking about Nurgle with the Scrivener, because the one thing the Scrivener does, he gives you +1 armor save on the Plague Bearers, which actually I think is quite big. But anyway, that's a side, because
he's got other options. You're not tied to just doing that. You can do this, can't you?
Yeah, I agree with what Yo Soybush is saying, that I think shooting's still on the meta in 2022, but the change to Unleash Hell has greatly rewarded Iron Jaws and other charge-orientated armies. I actually think the meta now is, are you playing dragons or Iron Jaws that can alpha strike you in your hero phase by moving multiple times with no reaction, no Unleash Hell, no redeploy? I think that's a thing. I liked that it was unique to Iron Jaws. I kind of dislike the fact now that Stormcast have just got it.
Along with every other rule, and the best standing shoot in the game from the dragons, which isn't any negative modifiers.
Yeah, that list that Tom wrote, which kind of looks quite balanced, which he took to a little event and won it, I think, which was the dragons with the hurricane crossbow, long strikes, bastion and libs, and it doesn't seem like anything particularly spammy or obtrusive, but it's just so powerful.
It's great. I think it says a lot that when he was like, I've been writing lists, and he sent me his, I was like, here's mine from yesterday, and it was the same as that, but with a different choice for the shooting unit. It's just Judicators instead. And aside from that, it was pretty much the same list. It's damn good. Nice that there's an elite list that works, but the stand and shoot on the dragons is an issue. I think they should get D3 damage or something.
Yeah, this the chance to spike the mortals is big, right? I mean, it's. The annoying thing is, it's just like it's not. It probably comes out in the wash, but when it happens to you, it feels really, really unfair.
It's too sweet. Like the odds are too extreme for you to be able to have an enjoyable experience playing against.
Yeah.
You know, like, of course, on average, you're going to take the middle amount of wounds. This isn't going to be too much, but like, whatever it's going to add up to, 50% of the time, you're either going to be getting absolutely mullered or taking none, which either
Yeah.
leaves with you feeling bad or your opponent feeling bad, and that is too much of a swing.
Yeah, exactly.
At
It's not ideal. I think with Legion of Blood, actually think Soul Blight are very good.
So
I think they're the kind of army that I wish I'd invested time in
you play
at the time the book come out. I think the lists I played with the Graveguard, Legion of Night, Radagar the Beast, and Holy Impetus has only got better with the update, where you can now fight with the White King and then immediately fight with the Graveguard because of the rule that they've put in there, and it allows you
+2 attacks.
Well, they've got 2 basic. You give them great weapons. They're damage 2 each. You charge Radagar the Beast. You charge the White King. You pop a command point from Radagar the Beast at the start of the combat phase to give him +1 attack. You activate the White King. You kill a model. You've then got +2 attacks on the Graveguard. You immediately activate the Graveguard. So you've got 20 models with 4 attacks apiece. Damage 2. In Legion of Night, you're -1 to wound if you take corpse carts, and you can even take a Vengorian Lord instead of Radagar if you want more defense. You take the AoE artifact thing. I think they just have it passively as the ignore worse than the rend or something like that from the Vengorian Lord, and then you've got the -1 to wound on the corpse cart, and then you get +1 save in the first battle round. You can put 30 Skelly Bobs in their list, and they come up, and then they of blob the middle of the table with a really good armor save, and then they get to come back up, and then you can take I like Morbideg's Claw for the turn where you really need to get Van Hels off. So like I still think there's a lot of play in that. Legion of Blood's got a little bit better. I think Black Knights are a little bit of a hidden gem if you want to play MSU, mortal wound spammy units that have got lots of wounds that don't die.
Yeah.
And can come back. So now I don't think you take Failbats, you take Black Knights, especially if you're playing Legion of Blood.
Completely.
There's probably a Blood Knight army with Legion of Blood.
Like 7 units.
Yeah. I actually think the free Mortis Engine list is great as well.
Yeah. I'm glad that's the thing that can be in the game. Plays like a computer game, just these AoEs blooming off.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, it's a bit strange on Unleash Hell because technically it's an AoE attack, so when you fire it, it hits everything. So you trigger it when you get charged, but when you attack with it, it hits everything in a bubble. So it's it's pretty good. I think I love Mortis Engines anyway, so it definitely would look like an impressive army. I definitely think there's a lot of play in that. They really appeal to me. I think the problem I have with them is there's a massive painting hurdle for me because I've got lots to paint.
You don't own enough. It's not like your Nurgle where like you don't even have like 800 points of it prepped, I guess.
Well, I had a Legion and a Gash army, and I had an old school undead army. And now the models have changed, the army composition has changed. So like I've got like Neferata, I've got a Vampire and Zombie Dragon, I've got a Prince Vordry, I've got old direwolves, but I only got 10. I got 15, sorry, so 5 of them aren't usable. I've got some old Fellbats that need to be rebased, but I've got the new ones. But so I've got the models. I just haven't. They're in states of different paint job. Like I've got a Mortis Engine, but yeah, it's like I don't have a lot of the troops, so I'd have to paint a lot of Skellies and then Graveguard, and then I don't have like the Vengorian Lord painted. I don't have like
not 18 models. Destructions.
No, it's not the same as going. I'm going to paint Morbidex, 2 Pasquale Blight Lords, and some characters, and then I've got an army. Because I've already got Festus, I've already got Blowab, I've already got the Blight Kings, I've already got Plague Bearers.
That battle line will be like 10 for summoning that are already built,
yeah.
Which is very different, isn't it?
But I've got like so many Plague Bearers, I don't think I'll ever run that many in the list. So yeah, it's what it is. So rambling a bit, but
it's all good. Soulblight are in a good spot is the conclusion of that. Absolutely loads of lists. What is our
I think if I was playing Death, if I wanted to play a Death faction competitive, they're the only faction I'd be looking at.
Okay, solid.
If I'm honest,
that's a good answer. Next question, Grace here. The question goes with the new year, new army. My family totally failed to heed my Christmas request for AO Series D set. So should I buy them or invest in more troops? Well, they are the gift that will keep on giving and help you paint up all of your troops. And I'm not even biased one bit. But
that's such rubbish.
No, they're amazing, dude. I would absolutely recommend
them. They are good, but yeah.
Apparently, we're not meant to fix the internet range Bloodthirster, so I guess we'll skip over that. Shooting is on the menu. It is. More seriously, do you build from a list, like here, or do you define a playstyle and then build a modular army? I pick army. I'm trying to pick an army that's easy, that is more easy to be modular. So, I got Kragnos, I dump him in, 700 and something points, completely different army. Take him out, put in another cabbage, 5 more dudes, completely different army. So you get this lovely modular blocky aspect to destruction that I've completely considered. They tend to be like large in points but low in models whenever you do that, unless you're putting in goblins or something. Andrew Begg, currently planning a slow grow with a friend who's deciding between 40k and AOS. Well, we know the answer to that one. Looking strongly at Iron Jaws or Soul Blight Gravelords. Couldn't think of a fun order list to try as I've not got any order yet. There's a lot of fun. I think Stormcast are way more fun to play than the 80 scroll book would suggest. So if you're gonna try and order one, I really do recommend them highly. They're good to play with. They're good to play against. They're not tricksy. They don't gotcha your opponent. And after a few games, their rules are fairly.
Except when they use their holy command to bring a unit back that you didn't remember. But other than that, yeah, so gotcha. I actually think the only issue we got with Stormcast is I think there's so much dross in the book, without knowing what's dross and what's not, you might go down the Palador path, I'm going to call it, and realise that they should have just gone in the bin. I
think I could write a 20 scroll list of what I would consider putting in the Stormcast book, and that would give people a more fun time building armies, because it's just 75% less stuff to read through.
Yeah. Travis asking, with the new War Scroll change for Plague Bearers, do you take Plague Bearers or Pinks for Battle Line or Summoning? I think if Pinks have gone up quite a lot, they got 50 points, right? I still take Plague Bearer Battle Line. I still think they're good.
New Plague Bearers are great for their points. Like, they're really, like, if you do the maths on it, they're better than they were, and they weren't bad.
Yeah. It's less than 10 points a wound, right?
Yeah, like, and that is the metric for things just being fine. And then they've got a 5-up save. And then they've still got the banner that brings them back, maybe.
Well, they don't get, the thing is, they don't get the 5-up in Legion because it's an allegiance ability, right?
Yes.
So they don't get disgusting resilience save. So you've got a 6-up armor save.
They get a 6-up. They get a 6-up ward in Legion, though.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So
yeah, it's still still better than most people get for 10 points a wound.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're still great, but I would probably summon Pinks though. If I was going to summon a unit, I'd summon the 5 Pinks. So depends what you're doing. Depends if you invest in the heroes like the Scrivener or the Bile Piper as well. So like if the Bile Piper, I think because of the pile-in shenanigans, they become even more tanky. So
they're so good, aren't they? And it's just another hero to have. Casio has asked, what do you think about the rumours of Bone Reapers? Do you think it will bring something new? I hope they get something new. I don't tend to pay a huge amount of attention until something actually happens, generally.
I haven't seen any rumours, but I know that people have been wishlisting. But like I say, I can't really say anything. I just hope that when it comes round, there'll be some cool stuff, because,
well, you'd like to play your army,
I'd like to play with it, yeah.
Your boys.
I could play with it, and I know the argument you could play with it now, but yeah.
Yeah, I've done that with Slaanesh for a while. I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. Hello there. Some British comments, very British.
We are British, so what?
I think so. Matt Taylor. I think the rise in Iron Jaws and Charge Army's popularity raises Bone Splitter stock too. They're good at absorbing alpha strikes. They are. They're just going to be incredibly boring to play. No one wants to paint that many models. Like, they're
And
great models. I've painted a lot of them.
and I think that's the thing. It's a bit like the old dwarf argument. Like they were like an army that you go, well, they're all right and they're annoying, they're resilient and they're kind of annoying for your opponent to play against, like the Fireside argument. And you're like, well, yeah, but they don't do anything, so I don't really want to play with them. So
Yeah,
they
and
don't
then
have
that one
anything
guy who's got his
cool.
tape measure on his belt plays them.
Oh, I remember that when I played a game at a GT and the guy had a graph paper and a protractor. And he asked me when I set my models up how far on they were, and he started doing trigonometry to guess the ranges. And I just said, "Look, just put the template where you want, mate. Just make it quicker, please."
Can you make this more pleasant for me?
I was playing Tomb King, so my 2 scorpions come up from the ground and charged, overran, and took all his war machines off on turn 2. So I was happy with that. So I only had to have 2 turns of it before he got done in. It was funny because he did all the trigonometry of his, and I had 2 catapults, and I just went, "Oh, that's 45 inches." And it was like bang on, and he was like, and I said, "I've just been playing Warhammer a lot." This is
Use my eyes.
yes, Tinsdale, Black Knights are the new direwolves who you play in Legion of Blood, 100%.
Oh, they completely
Direwolves are not worth the points, in my opinion.
No, I mean you do the maths on that equation, and
they've got the hang up from being 60.2 cheap core that you saw a lot to being a bit overpriced. What they do now
with minimum 10 as well, aren't they? Yeah. Casabura, one German here. Hello.
Joanne, should I invest in the Marty Froors? If you like them, so why not?
They're quite hard models to paint, I would say. They're cool, but they're pretty detailed.
I do actually like having one unit. Like, I think now that the army, maybe it's more Reavers, but now that the army kind of lends itself to like a little bit more balanced play, like less just eels, I do actually like a thrall block. One of the things I really like is I think it's more fan where you can heal, you can bring models back with the soul. I'll get all these words wrong. Soul not
Scryer?
the Scryers, the Reaper?
Soul Reaver.
Reaver?
Reaper.
The guy with the anglefish light dangle thing with the big hook. He can bring models back and you get bonus models if you're in Morph Fan, I think it is.
It's 3 models a unit. Is it something like that?
I think it's D3 plus 3 if you've got in that one.
So there used to be a battalion.
It's pretty. Yeah, I can't remember specifically, so don't get slammed in too much in the comments, but
someone can let us know if they're a Deepkin player, if that is it. Yeah, I'm glad that army's been balanced out a bit more now, rather than just eels.
I really like the Soul Render.
Do you guys think Archeon is alive in Tzeentch anymore?
No.
No. I think him and Nagash got hit with sticks that were too heavy, honestly.
They didn't need to be nerfed that hard. I think you could have just removed Destiny dice from Archeon. I don't. Chaos is. I sort of talked about it on the Winter Update show, but Chaos for me is in a weird spot.
Balance nightmare.
They're like, and like I said to you, like being so like bitty, and then they almost feel like they've taken away all the synergy, which has reduced their power significantly, but they haven't had the points drops, all the, to use their analogy, it's all have-nots, not haves, and no bonuses. So I'm not sure that Chaos is kind of in a bit of a state for me, and that like I'm quite happy sitting in a book. Like I'm quite happy to play Maggotkin and sit in Maggotkin and not look at Coalition and all that stuff. With Slaanesh, I think you had to look outside if you wanted to be competitive. Now the changes as well, that's hammered it even more. I know that Legion and Slaves is really popular. I would like to see Tzeentch armies being Tzeentch armies, not Archeon armies. But I don't think they've been given enough to make that happen.
No, it's like he's the massive elephant in the room just because he exists.
And I've seen some people talk about non-bows instead of combos. Yeah, that's a good comment, Gabe. I like that. Yeah, it's more like it's like you've had all your fun taken away and been given nothing back. So, I don't understand why. Like I say, it's not. The balance for me isn't there in terms of the takeaways hasn't happened in order, for example, as it has as in Chaos. The Nagash thing baffles me, but there you go. Yeah, Brad.
Why is
horrors,
Marathi still her points?
For horrors, I've got one solution for those, and that's to put them in the bin. And for that,
well, starting again didn't work on them, did it?
No, I still don't think they can get them right. I think fundamentally there's like a lore issue that as a game mechanic is very difficult to implement in a fair way.
It's got murder darling. Like,
I think it has to give somewhere
immediately with only these rules.
My thoughts are, if it was me, if I could redo it, I would basically do them on I would go back to the splitting being somewhere else at the table. So if you wiped a unit out completely of pinks, the next turn you could set up 2 units of blue 9 inches away anywhere on the table, a bit like a summoned unit. But until they're wiped out, you can't. And then again, when the blues, you could set the brims up. But I would almost do it on a turn delay. So you could make them a lot cheaper than. But it's still powerful. So you could use a screen, and then when the screen dies, you get 2 units back.
It's more easy for them to appear elsewhere in a magic-y fashion rather than where they are, isn't it?
If it was me, and also I think for people who are Zinch players that don't like horrors but feel they have to take them, it's a bit like if you look at the book and you go, "This is the only thing I can take that's worth taking that lets me be competitive." You don't want to not take horrors because you have to, but then you might hate playing with them. And I'm like, if you made the other rule, which is not the split and split again, but the like malicious thing that you do damage back, if you made that the same level, then you could choose not to do the splitting, and that would be a massive like weight, not only financially and painting, but actually like you would feel like you're not punished for doing that. I don't know whether that would be.
You'd be using your brain at that point
in their best interest. You could almost have 2 points cost. You could have one for the ones that split and the ones that don't split. Yeah. So you could have 2 units, 2 profiles in the one that you use this rule, one you use this rule, and you could call them like something pink horrors, like splitting horrors, and you could call them like malicious horrors. And you could you're not forced to paint 50 models and do the like most oppressive, boring tar pit mechanic in the game. But
three waves is
then you could use points as the lever rather than the rules, but I don't know.
I think it'd be nice if one split into blues and they did the mortal wounds, and one split into brims and they did the appearing somewhere else, or like it would be like that would be a way to have it be less dragged out, because it's really hard to point one model when it's 5, and it's easy to point one model when it's 3 or whatever. Barokai Rain, not sure if I understand this one. Honestly, I'd love to see more official game modes for AOS, like the whole objective control thing leads to games feeling like more or less the same. Oh, like one is like, kill your opponent's army or something.
I think it's probably because now the missions are all very objective focused, whereas before you had like hero missions, kill missions, or whatever. I definitely think there could be a rework of that whole battle tactic scenario to be a bit more streamlined. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of battle tactics.
Scenarios and more variety within them.
I'm not a big fan of battle tactics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they could get the bin. I don't really.
I think the game comes down to do you do your battle tactics, not do you win the mission.
Yeah.
The mission almost feels superfluous. Because it's always the turn you didn't get your battle tactic that is the big turn.
Yeah.
And when it's done, when you've got to pick one that's RNG, because you haven't got objective ones because you didn't take monsters,
or
they've somehow kicked the objectives everywhere.
2 helpful ones.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's...
You're playing Iron Jaws, there's 2 doable ones in it. You're playing Stormcast, there's 2 more that are doable in it. You've got less hard decisions and your opponent feels bad because their book's older.
And that's 100% a thing. Because, like, even like the Nurgle one's got some really useful ones.
They're great. They're almost duplicates. They're like, well, this is like an easier version of that one that you would choose anyway, and you still get to choose that other one.
I would love to run an Acolyte focused Zinch army because I really like the Acolyte models. I do. There's some interesting comments about Archeon being better in slaves now, which is probably true.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to jump to more questions. Baroki, on that about the game modes as well. I like the idea of being less scenarios, more variety, and perhaps there's ones where you have to control a table quarter or something like that. I think that, instead of a dot, I think that would be kind of interesting. Instead of it being so localized around the objectives, you could, and thematically, it's easy to write things like this. You could need to retain majority control of this portion of a table or something. And I think that would encourage different types of armies. That would really help things where it wasn't like, all about the one monster that's indestructible, that's on something. If you were controlling a quarter of the table, your dudes could mean more than your heroes, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Hi everyone. Blah 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 blah. I'm trying to find more questions. Thoughts on the Kragnos Gordrak and Maw Crusher list? I think it does have game. The fact that he can buff, +1 save on Kragnos at the same time as you're getting it on Gordrak and 10 brutes, like that is you can't argue the fact that would feel really good. Or +1 to hit on all of them, or all of them countercharging. Like, sorry, 2 of them countercharging, and then doing that stuff. Like, I think that is definitely good. Gabe, Soul Render, so you were right. Is it possible to have a slice list in Fire Slayers? I don't know what that means.
No, I don't know.
Slice list. Please clarify that, Cas.
If you want me to write a Fire Slayers list, I don't know. Not a faction I've looked at.
I think it's not a great answer, but the Speedy Temple, which I forgot the name of because it's ages since I painted some and wrote some. I think there are some lists in there, and I think they hold up fairly well. It's just not many people playing them. I think they're capable of catching people out because their troops can be really resilient. They've got fairly reliable damage, and Magma Droths are a bargain. Like, they've got good item options and command options and traits and stuff like that.
Oh, what a list! I've just written a list. I like that list.
What is it?
Okay. Sorry, it's a bit of a tangent, but I wanted to play around with some lists. So it is obviously a Nurgle army. It's because you have to have a demon general to benefit from the befouling host rule. So I don't know about all the artifacts and stuff, but basically it's probably going to be Witherstave. But it is Morbidix Twiceborn, August Demon Spew, Blowab Rotspawn, Festus the Leech Lord, a Bile Piper, 20 Plague Bearers, and units of 5 Blight Kings. 2,000 points on the nose.
Super best friends.
Well, just 3 really solid monstrous heroes. Festus to give you the Locust for the D3 heals and the minus armor save and all that kind of stuff. The Bile Piper to buff the Plague Bearers, Blight Kings. I mean, obviously, you could make this better by dropping probably the Blight Kings, to be honest, then putting in Beast of Nurgle, but I wanted the Blight Kings.
Yeah.
So, because you've got 500 points, so you could put in 4 Beasts of Nurgle.
Oh, they're good as well.
Or you could put in Nurglings. A unit of 6 Nurglings and then 2 Beasts. We wanted to go Mega, and that's 1930, so you could put an Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Triumph isn't bad on the if you got a block of 20 plague.
You go for 30 Plague Bearers and then drop one of the beasts or one of the you could drop the Nurglings down to 3. There you go. 1975.
So grim to play against.
So Morbidex, August, Blowab, Festus, Bile Piper, 30 Plague Bearers, 2 Beasts of Nurgle, 3 Nurglings, 1975. There you go.
Just trying to kill that 30 block with its 60 wounds. Ugh.
Plus the fact you'd be like not piling in or something, and then you could. You've got the Nurglings near Morbidex as well, so they're getting there.
Great.
Yeah.
Imagine him as the screen in front of the Plague Bearers, and you have to get through him or around him, and then you got 60 wounds.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, because I read the Befouling Host, where it says you need to have a demon general to get the extra tree, and I was kind of thinking, well, and if you're not taking like the Lord of Afflictions or to make the Pusquills battle line, do you really care about
Literally.
Do you care about being like drown men or whatever? Probably not. And then if you're not taking normal plague drones, then because that's the other you could put it in droning guard, and then you could literally have Lord of Afflictions drop one of the maggot lords out, and then basically put 2 units of 6, 2 units of 3 plague drones as, you know, I don't think they become battle line, but you can, because of the in befouling host as well, beasts become battle line, you get a cheaper option. But
yeah,
the price tag, I haven't got my book here with me. I've only got Oryx and Augurs, so I think I must have left it in the other room. But yeah,
someone in the chat can let us know. Cast Borough, do you think about the Khorne list with 2 or 3 Bloodthirster playable and competitive enough? Because 280 points. So, dude, go back 30 minutes, watch this on repeat. We say how amazing it is. Like, you cannot go wrong with as many Bloodthirsters as you're allowed. Like,
yeah, Matt Clark had a really good army. He played at the Warhammer World event. Me and Byron both played him in the last. Well, I played him in the last round. You played him in the 4th round, and we both lost to it. And he had Scarbrand, Instant Rage. I think he had one of each.
Scarbrand, 2 instant range, and 1 other. He was missing one of them.
He had the Wrath of Khorne, because.
So did he not have the other?
Maybe. And then he also had Karnak, didn't he? And then he had some stuff.
Yeah, Karnak's great.
Yeah. And like it was literally just having Scarbrand with the, and he was playing not Reapers of Vengeance, but the one where you can do the attack. I can't remember. It's like it was like an attack sequence thing, which was a real pain in the ass.
So it's ASF. So it's a 6-inch threat range and ASF.
Because you get pile in 6 and you get the always strike first, so you can counter pile in with Scarbrand. And you like
internet
then delete range, whatever you want to delete. Yeah, but it's this to get into Scarbrand because you kind of make like a little pyramid and then it was decent. I think there's definitely something there. I think if you're playing Khorne, the only list, because the mortals are so bad, I would say it's got to be a Bloodthirster themed army if you want to play competitive.
It's basically
Khorne.
A demon army.
Well, yeah, and it was a bit like that in the past. The only reason you saw some mortals is because you Gore Pilgrims, and that's gone. So Bloodlords, thanks Timothy. I think that's the one.
Yeah, cheers, dude. Yeah, Karanak, 3x5 Flesh Hounds, which are fine for options. He had some Skull Crushers in there, but just have a bit of armor, not because they're great or anything.
Yeah. He didn't have any normal Bloodletters, did he? He had 1 unit, did he?
He had 10. Had 2. I think it was.
It doesn't really matter. Take whatever you want.
Bloodletters and then 1 5 hounds or 2 5 hounds. Yeah, they were pretty solid. I wonder if Nurgle getting more popular might make magic heavy armies like Hallowheart better, since they've got a bunch of solid AoE spell options. I think you like. I don't think they will affect the meta that much, because I don't think people will think about it. On average, people won't think about it quite like that. But I would agree that those armies will get better if you see more Nurgle armies. I think Nurgle will be a bit like Soulblight, and even if they are good, people won't pay enough attention to them.
I don't think people are going to go into events and going, what do I do if I play Nurgle?
Yeah, same. Which is, it only matters if people take them enough, and that's got a delayed onset anyway. And by the time you get to that delayed onset, other new releases have happened that could be better, or could be more popular. Either of those still will push him down. A lot of these things, what should happen isn't what always happens in the tournament scene or the meta at all. I think like you look at how long it's taken people to get like horror spam armies on the table frequently. There was like an initial patch for the people who were super keen, and then it's taken like 2 years for others. So
I think that horror spamness come about because of the FAQ on the horrors, though, because it meant you don't have battle shock issues because they don't count as slain. Yeah. So that's where those reared their head. So
Tom ran it prior to that quite effectively, as did Toby Meadows, didn't he?
Maybe. I can't comment. I'm not sure. So
yeah, they both did.
I will take your word.
Do you know what Vorgoroth the Scarred is?
It's the big Forge World dragon.
That you can no longer take.
No, you can apparently, because that half your points on a single thing is in the Contest of Generals pack, not the current one. because it's
Oh,
it's
cool.
the competitive play pack at the back of the rulebook that no one plays, because they play the General's Handbook one, which is the Gur, whatever it is, Veins of Gur, whatever it's called. So it's not. I don't think it's anything other than a bit of fun. Like I don't.
Mimi.
It's
He can
yeah.
compete.
I've got no idea because I've never seen it, other than that one time at Blood and Glory.
I actually have a bit more of an idea. So someone who is apparently well known for taking lists that shouldn't do well, and they do well in America, at Adepticon, which has a bit more of a hobbyish vibe, but still a lot of very good players. He went 4-1 with it, or maybe even 5-0, I think. And apparently he's just always doing that type of stuff. So he's a good player of weird armies. But the guy on top hits like an absolute truck. He's got like the best weapon from something that's not a monster in the game. I think it's like 8 attacks, 3s and 3s or 3s and 2s, like Ren 2 damage flat 3 or something. So he's mental. The dragon's good. And it also takes up so much table space on its official base that you can completely zone people off with it. Khorne have got enough cheap crap, and I do mean crap, that you can pad out the rest of the army with a lot of units of very cheap things as well. So he's got more game than people would think, and people just won't know how to play against it. It's like an absolute freight train. So if you're going to buff one model with a CP as well, a 1200 point one that's really hard hitting isn't a bad option.
Yeah,
or a giant or something like that.
I don't
stand on this
I've
objective.
got literally no idea. I don't even know if his rules are still available on the website. Are they? Maybe.
I imagine they are. The attack profile on the axe on top was just absolutely insane.
Downloads? Like, Warhammer Legends. Is that a thing?
Probably, yeah.
What's this Arcanum? He's got to be in there, right? I have to excuse my slow download speed because I'm doing multiple streaming.
What is he called? Scar. What was his name? I've already forgotten his name.
Scar. Cloggy Breath Man. I don't know. Something the Scarred.
Got him. Okay, so his weapon profile is... So he's got a 20... This shooting attack. I knew there was something good. 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, Ren 3, damage D6. Range 20. Amazing. Skull Cleaver, Axe of Khorne, melee. Okay, so better and worse than I said. 12 attacks, not 8. Oh wow, this is exactly the same if you math it out. 12 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 2, damage 2. So, that's just amazing. And then his claws, D6 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 3, damage 3. And yeah, hits like an absolute freight train. If you're thinking of getting that, you will not have boring games, and neither will your opponents, and they'll be pretty epic. So I'm up on him more than people would think from a competitive standpoint.
Yeah. The war score is being extremely slow. I don't know why. I might get there in a minute.
I can read out.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to get on the screen. It's just that because I'm streaming and doing a million things, it's just a bit... I don't think it's a very optimized PDF. I've got it. I don't know where he lives, but he's in here somewhere, right? Kirstetten.
Control left.
Don't use your words. What's his name? Scarred.
Yeah, just put Scarred. Double R. God, that's
I don't think he's in there.
Borgoroth the Scarred and Scallock the Skull Host of Khorne.
No, doesn't show up. I don't know.
He was an epic beast. I mean, he was doing Gargant stats before they existed. He just cost.
It's really not liking this PDF.
Twice what they do.
Is he even in this document? Probably not, actually.
Any more questions? That was a good one about him. I respect that as a question.
Is he even legal if he's not in the pitch battle profile? Am I blind? He's not in the Monsters Arcanum, right?
Unsure. I've just sent you on WhatsApp a screenshot of the damagey bit of his thing, if that's useful for popping up.
Yeah, I can't.
Seems like he can delete 5 units at a time with that base. Yeah, he's nuts. Yeah, Grace said I got him from the app. So I think if you're attending a GW event, you'd be allowed to play him because he's supported enough in enough places. And
it depends though, because there's a specific list of what you can play. So like,
I've seen things that aren't on that list being played frequently at their events.
Because it says that you can play there's a specific list of things that are legal for match play events, and it says Monsters Arcanum, and he's not in Monsters Arcanum. Don't know. Pass.
Maybe the mold broke. Yeah, he does have the longest name in the game for extra.
I obviously don't know.
I would be super happy to play with or against that. Tom Worsley actually bought one. Of course he did. Captain Pants himself.
Why not? I did amend the list slightly just to say you could do it. All Guts, Blowab, Festus, Sloppity Barpiper, Great and Clean One, 20 Plague Bearers, 2 Beasts and 3 Nurglings. That's 2,000 points.
Oh, amazing.
Because in Befouling you could go for a bit more. I mean, you could drop Festus in that case, and then you could even
pop it up on screen if people want to take
should be on the screen. Of it.
Give it a bash. Oh, maybe mine's just catching up.
Yeah. Multiple windows.
Oh, there you go. Mine's just mine's caught up.
Obviously, ignore the artifacts and weapons and stuff. I just haven't bothered with that. I'm just putting units in there.
People are wrong about Beasts and Nurglings. They're great. Both of those units are really good for their points.
They're just efficient for what they do.
Yeah. Something doesn't have to kill something to be good, for those of you who are watching who say that they're not good enough. Like,
I know some people are thinking that beasts are rubbish, but I don't see...
Oh, they're mad. They are absolutely mad. Like, there's too much unique stuff on that scroll for them to be bad, even before you look at what they do in the rest of it, or the fact that they could be battle line or a load of other stuff. And if you think things need to be able to kill stuff instantly to be good, then you shouldn't be reading the Nurgle book, because things aren't going to die until like turn 3 pretty frequently.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're frozen again. Sorry guys, I'll get the tech problems out of the way. If I minimize the window, that's why it's just frozen our faces. Yeah, not that you don't really want to look at us talking, but you can hear us, so it's fine. Yeah, I don't know. Like I think for me, like I'll start with my collection, what I've got available. So I'm hoping this game doesn't get cancelled. I've got a reschedule game next week, so I get to play my Nurgle, and I'll probably run what I've got painted. I might try and build an Orguts.
Well, you should. He's an amazing model. I just remember we had 2 questions asked in advance, which I reckon one of them will be your specialist subject and one will be your not specialist subject or not favourite subject.
I'm getting there already.
Okay, so I'll ask you
the...
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you your least favourite one first.
No, I don't. I don't care.
Okay.
It's purely because, like, you know, I don't even care. Like,
it doesn't involve tech lists or sentinels.
I know, but still.
By definition. So Dan, who we love, he's requested a Cool Boys list on our show that isn't just Bolt Boys. So my response to this would be something with kind of like mini monster spam. I don't know where you would go with a list like that.
I think you've got the immediate problem if you don't take big yellows is battle line. Yeah. So to avoid paying 120 points extra of battle line tax on gut rippers,
it's not just that either. You might want them in a bigger block. So
I don't know if going away from big yellows is worth it. This is inherently the issue I have with list design with Crawl Boys, and the reason you only see Bolt Boy units is because if you go big yellows, you immediately go, well, I've got to take some Bolt Boys because they're efficient, and then the Allegiance buffs them, so I might as well take more. So you end up going down a route of taking lots of Bolt Boys. Now, if I caveat this with, I will not touch that one because it's a bit obvious, and I'll just stay outside, then you got a choice of Skull Bugs or Grinning Blades. Now, I actually really like both of them actually are good, but I think Skull Bugs has quite an interesting, bit random, but it's quite cool where you get extra negatives to hit. I don't know why the War Clans aren't with the rules for the army. It's a bit weird. I'm just trying to find it in the book so I can remind myself. There we go. So you've got Grinning Blades. So during the first battle rounds, Grinning Blades are not visible to enemy models that are more than 12 from them. So that is really nice in a shooting meta, but it doesn't do anything about Sentinels because they break the rules. and it doesn't help you when dragons and iron jaws are in your face. So it doesn't do much for that. Obviously, you've got dirty tricks and stuff as well, which can help out against shooting. So I don't know if I would probably go for Skullbugs, which is when I mean it's picked to fight, roll a dice it's within 3 of a Skullbug unit, add 2 to the roll it's within 3 of a monster on a 6+, subtract 1 from hit rolls. So it's like, it's okay. It's not going to come up very often, but you've
You use the
also
little monsters dotted around though. It's like
yes. So you can use the Breaker boss, who I believe is a monster. I'm going back to the journey I had about 8 months ago when I was seriously looking at these guys.
the break boss is a monster because this is the list that I was saying with the mini monster spam.
He's not a monster actually.
Is he not?
No.
Was it that he gets waves? I can't remember.
No, he's not a monster. So it's the Sludge Raker and the Volker.
That's it, Sludge Raker.
So, and this is the issue. In light of that, and you don't want to take 3 units of 10 Gut Rippers, you always go big yellows, right?
But maybe can you be disciplined and go like 1 large unit of the Slitters who are still overpriced, but we just accept it, 2 minimum units of the Gut Rippers, because it's not bad to have. You don't have to have a full shooting army for them to be a useful thing. You know, you can still pick out characters with them and stuff, and then you just write a list that isn't all about the shooting.
Yeah, but you don't have to go into more than 2 units of Bolt Boys. You could just go like 2 Bolt Boys, 1 unit of Gut Rippers, and just not spam them. But you still have to be big yellows.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the question, like, it was without lots of units of them, not outside of big yellows. Yeah. So I guess you just. Then like, there's a bonus to being in big yellows.
The Sludge Raker Beast is almost an auto include, in my opinion.
Oh, in multiples if you got points, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. You could. I think is he Grinning Blades the main dude? They got the named character version, haven't they? Which he gets a slightly better Swamp Boss Scumdrek. So he
is
Grinning Blades. Yeah.
Yes, Grinning Blades. Yeah.
So he gets 1 extra wound, a slightly better snatch grab. I think he gets a slightly 1 more attack. 1 more beast is the same.
Fix it, mate. Hubruts being battle line would make a difference.
Yeah, that's what I would. I think Grinning Blades, because he's got the counting crew and everything, it'd be nice if, like, for each Gut Ripper, a Hobgot becomes battle line if you're in Grinning Blades.
That'd be nice.
You could do something like
appropriately pointed.
You could drop 20 points of Gut Rippers, and I think you wouldn't be. No one's going to scream.
I'd agree. And the Splitters could have some points dropped off too. Compare them to Plague Bearers and see how you feel about their points.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
No, I agree with you. 180 just seems like ridiculous, particularly when if you even better than that, compare them to the Savage Orc boys. Identical. They are identical. Everything's identical. They get a 6-up ward. We get mortals, and they're more expensive. And you're like, yeah, I know that you could argue the offense is slightly better, but
I don't have as many ways to give them +1 save either.
They do have that scare tactics rule, but whatever.
It's got ifs in it, whereas you could just be giving them +1 save by doing a dance close to them.
It doesn't work to heroes and monsters, and it's just -1 to hit, basically. So, Gut Rippers are just. I like them, but they're bad.
How many points are 10 Plague Bearers now?
150.
They're 150 and they've got 20 wounds.
Yeah, these have got 2 wounds each as well.
Yeah, so you've got.
They've got a better armor save. They've got 1 more movement. They've got half the bravery.
Got none of the ward save.
Slightly, well, no, but that's the main thing. Which is if you want them just to stand there and exist, then which is generally what you want for your battle line troops, right?
Yeah. But, there'd be no harm in them being pointed like Moonclan Grot Spearman, or a bit more in that direction. I'd love to see someone being like, no, I've got a 30 block of these, and I feel okay about that.
Yeah,
someone's just said Shelty, hilarious. Also, you could take a 30 unit of them, and it would be great. Are you talking about Hubruts? Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually think they're really good as a screen. Like you never see them on the table, but for 80 points, I think they're all right. I think you...
Well, absolutely fine. I really like your idea. That's a really neat solution. Well, you drop 20 or 30 points. I don't know what would be fair off the spearman, and then for each one of those, maybe if you're in the right faction or you have the right general, another like Hobgrots can be battle line.
Mm-hmm. And the problem is, I don't know if this is actually going to be a good army, but
Don't worry about that.
It'd be all right. It's a bit spammy, but you've got 20 points extra actually because they've not got the new points in because Gobsprat went down to 280, didn't he?
Which he needed, and I think it's a bit more helpful for him.
I do think the shaman's a bit of a trap, but anyway, this is what I would call a balanced army, and it's still big yellows. But it's a snatcher boss on Sledge-Raker, and obviously you take faster, and you would probably take the sort of the normal stuff. So although he doesn't have the 5-up ward anymore, they've got a lot of good artifacts like Eye Pebble's good and stuff like that. Basically, it's 3 Maya Boot Trogoth bosses.
Nice, good stuff.
Gobsprat for your magic, and he's a good, decent monster. He's fast. Because some of the missions you want 2 monsters, so you've got 2 because it just makes you easier to do those. A Swamp Caller Shaman with Potgrot, 2 units of 3 Bolt Boys, 10 Gut Rippers, and 2 units of 10 Hobgrot Slitters, and a Killbow. And that's 1970. So it's actually 1950 actually, but so you have got 50 points.
Phase.
It's a bit of everything, but the combat power of the breaker bosses, when you call the ward, you get to attack with 3 units at the same time. So 2 breaker bosses and a snatcher boss going in. That's a lot of damage because
quite a lot of damage.
The breaker bosses are.
And I can't remember what they get, but they do D3 mortal wounds, then mount, and then they get better.
So they've got 5 attacks from the rider, which is freeze, no rend damage 2, and then you get 4 attacks from the beast, freeze, rend 2, damage 3. But you take D3 wounds, and for each wound you get 2 extra attacks. They could have up to 10 attacks, freeze, rend 2, damage 3.
3 of them you'll average out pretty nicely.
12 wounds each.
Those into a unit.
The army's got 127 wounds. They've got 4-up armor save, the movement 5. It's
venom encrusted weapons. Quite a lot of attacks in there.
Yeah, the mount doesn't get it, so the troll doesn't get it, but the rider does. And obviously the snatcher boss on Sledge-Raker Beast has the AOE that you get extra wounds. Then you've got your battle line requirements really. You could play around with this stuff. You could drop like the 2 units of Hobgrots and put 10 more Gut Rippers in. I just want bodies really. Minimum. You could even go 3 units of 3 man skewers and just take. Then you put another Hobgrot unit in. You could put an endless in. You could drop the Killbow out. I like the Killbow. I just like having one. It's basically like a combat monster. So you could, if you went Skullbugs, you essentially would change the Bolt Boys into Gut Rippers, and you would say and drop the Hobgrots. So you would go into that. So it looks something like this. I don't think you would do this, but if you didn't want to take any shooting because you had a real bugbear about it and you were like, nope, I definitely want to be...
Yeah, James just like, you need more Bolt Boys, and I was like, the brief is to not use them. We're definitely not saying this is the best list out there, but...
it's actually okay because the points drop on Gobsprat, so this would work. Snatcher Boss, Breaker, Gobsprat, Swamp Caller, 10 Gut Rippers, 10 Gut Rippers, 10 Gut Rippers, 10 Slitters, and a Bolt Skewer, Killbow, Beast Skewer.
It'd look
Killbow.
Nice. Look kind of military, wouldn't it? Big dude 10, big dude 10, big dude 10, big dude 10.
It would look like a nice battle line. And then you've got 1 unit of Hobgrots. You could use the super sneaky to put them up to stop people being able to get around you. So you could actually block off. If you did good placement with it, you could actually stop the dragons getting through around you because they couldn't land between that and your army. They could go round, but you could kind of protect something. But to be honest, it's like it's okay, but it's quite slow. I don't really know what it does.
That's a list for someone that's the type of list you see appearing doing better than it should in the hands of a very good player, and you're like, oh, whoever's taken it. Like Builder Sue's taken it. Like he's going to appear at some point with a list like that, I'm sure.
And like, if you wanted to go, what I would probably do, and again, it's boring, but it's kind of where the army's been forced to go,
At least
unfortunately.
you're not playing Bone Splitters.
You could even go. What are we up to? There we go.
While you're doing that, these a techless Sentinel spam list with Iron Jaws. Should I prioritize charging Sentinels or techless?
Sentinels.
Difficult question. I think Sentinels, especially if it's a larger unit.
100% Sentinels.
Yeah, you're more reliably going to be able to chunk your way through them as well. And they're probably standing in front of techless that you don't have an option. If your opponent, if you're playing and your opponent has put techlist on the front line where you could reach him, he's either being very clever or very dumb, and I can't work out which.
This is 2,000 points on the nose. Snatcher Boss on Sludge Raker Beast. 4 Maya Brute Chogoths. Another it's 2 Sludge Rakers, 4 Maya Brutes, 3 units of 3 Bolt Boys, 2 units of 10 Hobgrots, and 1 Killbow. 2,000 points.
I mean, I'm down.
It's no magic. You could cake an Arcane Tome if you want. But those 6 heroes, that hits like a truck.
Cool. They punch so far above their weight. They're brilliant.
And they're not easy to shift. So it's
yeah, your armor saves aren't bad in general by a squishy army.
4 up on those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Sludge Raker's got some 14 wounds as well. And you've got 2 for the redundancy of the poison. Something like that. And obviously it's a straight swap out. If you go, I'll take Gobsprak, and then that gives you the magic for one of the Sludge Rakers. Then
yeah, and because they're not monsters, all those guys get to stand in terrain and benefit from it, which, they're not a huge base.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think you're incentivized enough to go away from big yellows at the moment.
I'd agree. I reckon.
It's just my personal opinion, but I'm
equally, you can take 2 units of those and 1 big unit of the other guys. You didn't betray your combat roots by having a little bit of shooting in the army, and that's quite a good idea in foot slogging armies to have something that can take out key pieces of your opponents at long range. So
essentially, you've just gone for the most efficiently pointed thing that does the most for your army. So
yeah,
like you go, well, I need some stuff to get in the way. So the Hobgrots are the cheapest thing that does that. I need battle line. The best battle line is probably 3 units of 3 man skewers. Therefore, you're forced to take big yellows. It also makes them more effective because it gives you the range boost and the reroll. A kill bow just because it's a nice deterrent against a single monster because it can do quite a lot of chunk damage. You've made redundancy by taking 2 Sludge Rakers, and the Breaker Boss on my Brute Trogoth, point for damage output, is probably the best value in the book.
Yeah, and not too bad
in the faction, I should say.
Either. Yeah. If
you
get 3 of those into something, someone's going to not kill 1 or 2 of them probably.
And they hit really hard. Really hard. I mean, there's an argument for Gobsprak and Life Swarm. So if you drop a Snatcher Boss on Sludge Raker, he's 280. That's going to give you, 35 points plus the... So you'd have to do something else. But
drop some Hobgrots.
You could drop 1 unit of Hobgrots, and then you could take Life Swarm because the healing on the heroes is quite big. Because if you're damaging yourself, heroic actions and stuff. So any AoE type healing you could get. I don't know if there's anything else. I know Life Swarm's
done up in stock because those guys are probably going to be in combat now, and you can't heal them while they're in combat any longer. So
yeah, true.
It's stock rose, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. And Gobsprak gives you access to the whole lore, and there's some really good spells in there. So I really like Gobsprak. He's super cool. But it's unfortunately in the faction, Gut Rippers aren't. I don't think they're worth their points. And I don't know what else do you do. Like I don't think
if anyone's been running some unconventional lists, which aren't them, fitting with this. I'd love to see what people have been running or hear their thoughts on it. Yeah, there's quite a few people who picked up the army with a lot of love because the models are badass. And so I'm sure there's some people out there watching this.
I struggle to find any longevity in the army at the moment until it either gets a bigger range or some tweaks. So I did get the army to do, and I decided against it. I think there's more life in Nurgle for me than there is here. So
they feel so much like the Bone Splitters with the Rogue Idol. For me, you know, I had to lean on that to get more enjoyment out of the book. And with them, I think you lean on a Mega Gargant, and that completely changes how they feel. Cameras are frozen again, apparently.
Yeah, it's because I'm alt tabbing and I keep minimizing the window. Sorry, that's my fault.
It's all good. You've frozen me with a constipated face on, and you. Wonderful. So yeah, well, yeah. If anyone's managed to do one like that, do you have any recommendations to expand the sort of like Battle Force to competitive 2,000 point list? Black Knights, mate. You should have loads of them kicking about. Black Knights, Blood Knights, it's good in general. Just go back a bit to rewatch this and go back.
The
to
Soulblight Battle Force, is that a new thing that came out at Christmas?
Yeah, I think it's one of the 100 quid boxes.
Oh, I didn't think I actually saw that.
Probably got a name we can't Google. Revenant Legion. Okay, I believe. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Revenant
Vengorian
Legion.
Lord.
It actually comes up if I type Battle Force.
I know, mad, isn't it? So 20 skeleton warriors, too many zombies, 5 blood knights, and the Vengorian.
Yeah, I got it.
So I'd more knights. Knights is a great start. You probably want a White King on Horsey. He's great, lovely model too.
The problem with the White King, he only comes in the start collecting set.
But you want the other stuff in the start collecting set. Yeah,
maybe. I think it depends what you're doing with your list. I would say 100% you need a Mortarch. Like, if it's me, I'd get a Mortarch, and you get the rider pieces to make both Nephrata and Manfred.
Yep.
So you can basically have both. Bizarrely, a start collecting Flesh Eater Corpse is a good next purchase, because you can build a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, plus this Prince Vordry, and you can build the big guys into Vargeists. It's particularly relevant if you're going Legion of Night, because they become battle line. And then you can actually sell the ghouls, or you can make them look like zombies and just have them in your zombie units if you mix and match them with bits and, you know, convert them up a bit.
Good value.
So it depends what you're doing with your army. I would write a list. Personally, I think the units that you want are a Mortarch, probably a Vampire on Zombie Dragon. I would say a Necromancer. White King on horse is good if you go in Graveguard heavy. If you're not, then I wouldn't bother. If you go in Blood, you might want Black Knights. I would say your Corpse Cart is probably a great purchase. Direwolves, Fellbats, you know, they're fairly cheap. Probably not the Fellbats now. I'll probably just take the Direwolf set is good. Depends what you're doing. You know, it really does depend on your list. More Blood Knights if you want to go more into the Blood Knight era. You go with those. But for me personally, I think the power in the Soulblight book is with Graveguard, or the vampire characters / knights if you want to do melee damage. That's a great core start. I mean, like the Vengorian Lord's great. Brilliant. The 2 units of zombies and the skellies, that's as your battle line, that's perfect, and you get an elite unit. That's a really good set for a list. So paint it all up first before you buy anything else, because we all do that.
There's not much crap in there, yeah.
I don't. I've got 5 beasts of Nurgle here. Like, people telling me they're rubbish, and I've got like 5 of them.
You can prove them wrong. They can high-five their way to victory.
I've got 5 Nurgle. It's like my 5 beasts of Nurgle. Something like
for Christmas. Yeah, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. Mouth is with the Nurglings and beasts.
I'll play a game and then I'll be like, yeah, beasts of crap. But you know, like I say, it's theory at the moment, and I really want to like Blight Kings, so I'm going to run the Blight Kings, and hopefully they're good. And then I'll be like, I'm happy with Blight Kings, but I know they're not the best choice, but I like Blight Kings, so it's fine.
see how it goes. I think theoretically, another thing that factors into my picking of destruction is that I think your Nurgle versus my list is an interesting game. So if I come up and do some games, then if we're recording them or just talking about them, I think it's going to lead to some really interesting discussions or deployment stuff.
Well, I should have the table set up in the next week. I could do it. I could do it tomorrow if I really wanted to. If I hadn't hurt my ankle.
You got a poopy foot now.
Yeah.
Take a break.
This is the problem with doing too much DIY. So I mean, like once the table's there, but that's kind of why I would like to do a few more armies, because I'm quite keen to record those. Maybe not do live battle reports, but maybe in the future, who knows? See what I can do with the tech
as well. We've got some ideas. So for those of you who are Patreon peeps or whatever, and this will make its way into the normal free content as well. Obviously, we're going to be, once we've got the space that Russ has been prepping for ages, that'll give us a forum where we can, set up deployment zones. Hey, it's DIY, always takes longer than it should. Set up deployment zones, demonstrate things, whether that's live, stood at a table. If I were to move here, Russ could move here, or take pictures and then talk about them. So that should be really helpful for kind of like super educational learning point content for people looking to improve their AOS game, get more out their armies, improve their win rate, that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we I will be putting a bit more effort into like rounding the channel out. I've got some stuff for the Patreon subscribers that's been a bit delayed because the guy making the stuff for me, unfortunately, he's had some cases of COVID in the family and it's caused a lot of disruptions. So I said to him, like, don't worry about it. I wanted to get some stuff out for Christmas, but it will be in the new year. But you don't worry, if you're a Patreon subscriber, the people that are still there, you will be getting your swag soon. So yeah, and then there'll be some, I'm going to restructure the Patreon slightly and have some exclusive content that's only on Patreon, but nothing too polished. But there, it's yeah, Gabe, if you want to fancy coming down for a game and you want to smooth brain me with your Gargants, then we could do it. So yeah, I'll be able to I'm quite happy to put people up if we can get like a little contingent from the north down. We could have some games and hang out and stuff. It'd be cool.
Looking forward to it. Events aren't going to be very reliable, or they're not being booked so much. So
well, that's the problem at the moment, isn't it? So I need to get some weekends in to get use out of my model collection. It's like I don't get to play with them, so to look at them.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, and for people who are gaming, nice segue. You just posted it. We got our objective markers in stock, so pick up a set. Helps us out. Help you out during your gaming.
They were fit for purpose.
Don't, contrary to internet opinion, they don't get completely destroyed if you use them appropriately.
They're not bomb proof. Yeah, if you were to do a wheelie on them in a monster truck, they would probably break. Disclaimer.
Yeah, they're not designed for parking your car in your driveway.
Do some American advertising.
Shock horror. Anyway,
will not replace the lava.
So yeah. New year, long and short, TLDR. You're doing Kragnos Destruction, probably Iron Jaws. I'm going to be doing my people, which is the fatties, that's Nurgle. And we'll go from there, but hopefully we'll see. But I do think that Soulblight will reign me over as well. So I might be revisiting those because I need to make sure I've got every death faction available. So it's
they've got a game. I'll try my best to cover the rest. I'm starting.
Yeah, I've got a Marathi snake army in a box which I want to paint, but I've been waiting for some base and accessories for those. So
don't worry, that got fixed. They got 10 points more expensive for each 5 snakes. Sure, that fixed.
Yeah, they're melee snakes anyway because I built them that long ago. I think I've got 20 melee and 10 bow, and then I've got
it doesn't matter.
2 units of harpies.
It literally doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. An iron scale, Marathi.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know it doesn't. And I've got a unit of the Shadow Stalkers. So there you go.
One of the best armies in the game, regardless. All right, then. I reckon that's everything. Guys, if you would like to see anything more from us, or there's specific topics you would like to see in the coming new year, or from us in general, you've got suggestions, please do pop them below. Really, really appreciate the input as ever. Like I'm super, like you're restoring my faith in the internet with the caliber of your comments and input.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So thank you very much for stopping by. I'll pop the link in again for the templates. Purchasing them helps support the cast. We still got some FACEHAMMER dice on the website as well. So feel free to grab some of those if you're starting off the year with some new shinies. And yeah, thank you very much for joining in.
Yeah, and just a bonus question. I noticed Paul, and he's obviously put a lot of comments on our videos in the past, says, are Tamakan units Tawny legal? I don't think they are.
Technically not.
I don't
You
think
can always
they are.
email ahead, and they might just say yes.
Basically, there's a list, and
Not
I think they have to be in Monsters Arcanum, and I don't think they are. So they might be. I'd have to go back to the PDF, but my internet will fall over. So I'll check it. What I'll do is I'll probably have a look, and then I'll put if you put a comment below with that question, I'll respond to it when I found the answer. I don't know off the top of my head, or someone else can reply if you know. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and hope you all have a good new year. And thank you very much for spending your evening with us, and I hope everyone's staying safe. And we'll catch you all again soon.
Catch you, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good evening.